Yo, I would have loved to film this from my room in Cambridge, but this is my last day here and I need to catch that flight. So, obviously, you're just gonna have to film it from the stew in Nairobi. This is a video about my application to Cambridge University and some of the things that I think helped me get in, including but not limited to my grades, personal statement, portfolio, funding opportunities as an international student, and choosing a college, because that's something that you need to do for Cambridge as well. I've been getting a bunch of questions about this in my DMs and comments, so I just thought it would be a great idea to make a dedicated video to attend to all those questions and queries. But before I get ahead of myself, my name is Sean Mwanje. I just completed my first year at Cambridge University studying architecture. I am also based in Nairobi, Kenya, so yes, I am an international student. And with that said and with us acquainted, let's get into the video. You know, when I first decorated my room, yeah, I thought, yo, put your prints in your room, that would be so sick. Yeah, background of your videos and everything. But bro, where are we now? You're filming you filmed 0 videos with this in the background. Can you imagine? Look at yourself, I hope you're proud. Anyway, do better next year. Where were we? Dates! So the first thing I had to look out for when applying to Cambridge, Oxbridge, uni in general was to check out the deadlines for everything, because I wasn't really going to have a realistic chance of getting in if I didn't get my application in and on time, right? And with Cambridge specifically, the deadline for applications came much earlier than for other UK universities. For Cambridge and Oxford specifically, the deadline usually comes in mid-October, whereas for other UK universities you usually have until January to get your application in. You apply to these universities through the UCAS website, which is basically a portal that facilitates the applications of students applying to UK universities. Through the UCAS website, you can apply to up to 5 universities, but you only need to complete your application once, with one application going to all 5 of your university choices. And once again, if Cambridge or Oxford are among your choices, you're going to need to prepare your application that much earlier. Also, please know that you can only apply to one of Cambridge or Oxford, so please choose wisely. But yeah, with that sorted, then once you know the dates you need your items in order by, you can finally get into preparing your application. Grades. The first place you're probably going to get started with is compiling your grades. Universities are probably going to be interested in your academic history dating as far as 4-ish years back. For me, that came in the form of submitting my IGCSE and A-level grades. So yeah, I did do my IGCSEs and A-levels from Kenya, as I was enrolled in a British curriculum school, and what I ended up scoring for those were 9 A stars and an A at IGCSE and 4 A's at the AS level in year 12 in the subjects math, physics, arts, and English literature. So since that was the point up to which I had to start exams, that is what I ended up submitting for consideration. When it comes to grades, what a lot of the really competitive unis will be looking for are probably A's in the subjects most related to the indicated course you've expressed a desire in studying, an IGCSE level, and A stars to A's predicted for your final A-level results. Cambridge's conditional offers for the courses they offer usually start at A star, AA predicted grades for A-level, but can actually go higher from that. So I really would recommend you checking out for yourself to find out what the word on the street is for your course, or even if they offer your course of study in the first place. And if you do a different curriculum to the British one, I'd probably say the equivalent. So you're probably looking at the top 2 grade brackets in your respective subjects. But then again, I'd probably recommend checking in with them to see if there's any further light they can shed on this. But yeah, that's it for grades. Personal statements. Once your grades are out, what you're probably going to want to get to writing is your personal statement. For the Americans in the crowd, this is basically your college entrance essay, where you have 2,000 words to confess and convey your passion for your desired course of study and show a little bit about yourself. An extremely important detail to remember is to not name drop a single university you're applying to in your application, as remember, this one application, this one personal statement is going to all 5 of your university choices, and the last thing you want to do is to automatically disqualify yourself from 4 universities just because you wanted to suck up to your dream one. And who knows if that's going to work, because no one likes to beg anyway. But other than that, the personal statement is also a really good opportunity for you to share a bit about yourself and your wider interests, including any particularly interesting extracurriculars that you did in school, whether that pertains to student leadership, sports, societies, after school activities, etc. It's really important to try to relate these activities to your desired course of study as well. As contrived as it may feel, the fact is UK applications are just a lot more academically oriented than the US counterparts, for instance, and a lot of the people reading it are going to have a bias towards the desired course of study, and even could be faculty members of these said departments. So you may or may not need to do a bit more pandering than you would initially like to. Cambridge specifically, that academic focus is going to be much more intense, and you're going to need to convey or portray an ability to read around your subject, as well as show an ability to further substantiate your passion and interest through the activities you participated in leading up to and around at the time of your application. For me, that looked like writing about a particularly memorable impression a building's facade left on me while on a trip in my introduction, mentioning a book that I had read about structures of why things don't fall down by J. Gordon, name dropping some niche observations about an innovative design movement that I was into at the time, as well as pointing to a more local example of that phenomenon. You can check out Cambridge's reading list if you don't know where to start, but really, news articles and TED Talks, YouTube video essays will probably get you much further than you'd imagine. If you're curious, you can check out my full personal statements for yourself, linked below in the description. But as far as personal statements go, I would personally advise you to try your best to share your ability to read around the subject, include any particularly significant extracurriculars you participated in according to your own judgment, and maintain a focus on your desired course of study. And with those checked out, you're probably just about set to make that October application deadline. But not so fast. Still got a portfolio to submit, and we haven't even talked about interviews yet. Portfolio. So for architecture specifically, you do end up having to prepare a portfolio for when you do end up getting interviewed. At the point at which you will be preparing your portfolio, you would have already submitted your application that includes the aforementioned portfolio grades on the UCAS website. And then after they receive your application, upon reviewing your grades, portfolio, everything I just named, they will decide whether or not they would like to take your application forward and invite you for either a virtual or in-person interview. Luckily in my case, I did make it to the interview round, and mine ended up being in person as well, which means I ended up having to prepare a physical portfolio. In more recent years, they have taken virtual ones as well, so be sure to check in with them to be sure for when the next application cycle comes around. As for the content in the portfolio itself, I basically included some of my best work from my time doing art in school, as well as anything else I thought they might be interested to see. I'll probably make a dedicated video where we do actually get to flip through this sooner rather than later. But as for now, I think we can get started on talking about scholarships. So if you didn't know by now, university fees for international students, well, everywhere, are kind of crazy. This is no different in the UK, and it's even worse at Cambridge, where international fees start at triple what home students would pay and go as high as 50,000 Great British pounds on just tuition on courses like veterinary medicine. They do vary by course. So you'd be crazy to think I had any reasonable chance of affording that, and that is exactly where scholarships come in. I was lucky enough to earn a scholarship to support my studies to Cambridge when I was awarded the Beacon Leadership Scholarship. The scholarship is a result of a partnership between the Cambridge University Trust and the Beacon trustees, awarded to East African students excelling academically, socially, and at an extracurricular of their choice to support their studies to a number of UK universities that the Beacon trustees partner with as well. Once again, linked in bio. The scholarship covers 2/3 of all fees associated with my studies, including tuition, accommodation, living costs, and traveling costs to and from the UK for school. So I am very grateful for that. And fortunately, this isn't an uncommon occurrence for many, if not most, international students at Cambridge. Thankfully, due to the global reputation of the uni, there isn't really a shortage of funding opportunities to help international students support their studies to Cambridge. I can confidently say that I know people from all over the world that got part or full scholarships to Cambridge. Mostly full, actually, from places such as Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, mainland Europe, no America though, but I guess UK international fees would probably be cheaper than whatever they end up paying at home anyway. But yeah, if you do need it, scholarships are about, and it's best to start looking for what's available to you as early as possible. There are also scholarships and funding opportunities for home students as well. I know, such as the Cambridge Bursary and things such as the Gates scholarships, as well as the Stormzy Scholarship. There's a whole list, man. I'll link what I'm aware of in the description, but there's probably a lot more out there as well, so don't let fees stop you from going Cambridge. Check them out. Choosing a college. So this is the part of the application that's probably an afterthought for most, and that is the choosing of a college. It was very much an afterthought for me. The way Cambridge works is that you're all enrolled into Cambridge University as one, but you're each members of different colleges. One of 31 to be precise. This is where you sleep, maybe eat, and also probably where a lot of your friends are going to be from because of how much time you're going to be spending there. So those are probably some things to consider when making your choice. Some of the things that may help you inform your choice are things such as the fact that not all colleges are equally endowed, with some colleges having much more money than others, which can affect your college life, as well as other things like location, ground aesthetics, and size. The way I chose my college was actually quite underwhelming, as when at the last click of a button before I finally ended up submitting my application to Cambridge University, I was prompted to make my decision in haste, or I guess just being done with the whole process. I did end up choosing the very first college listed alphabetically on that list, and that was Churchill College. As for how that turned out, I'll tell you in a sec. But for now, let's talk about the interview. So as I mentioned earlier, once your personal statement and grades are reviewed, you might get invited to interview at the Cambridge college you applied to for your subject. This might be in person, and for international students, it would probably be virtual nowadays. When I applied in 2019, I ended up having to travel all the way from the UK for mine though, so it does vary. What doesn't much though is what they'd be looking for, and some of those things include: do I want to teach this person? The people interviewing you are likely to be university staff that will prospectively be teaching you in a few months' time. So it makes sense for them to try to gauge not just how impressive you are, but also whether you're the kind of person that they look forward to welcoming in just a few months after meeting you, whether virtually or otherwise. They're probably going to be looking for someone compassionate, inquisitive, and engaged, and some of the ways to signal that include: know your personal statement inside and out. The first thing you're probably going to need to do upon receiving your invite to an interview is to revise your personal statement. Whatever you include in your personal statement is basically something you volunteered to be questioned about. So even if it's been a while since you read that book that you name dropped, or if you did even read it at all, make sure you don't get caught lacking so they don't end up questioning the facts in the first place. Actually, in my interview, they literally asked me to draw the building that I mentioned in my personal statement's introduction from memory. I mean, I did, but there was really no preparing for that. So it does happen, but better safe than sorry. Think out loud. When faced with some of the questions you're going to get asked, you might be puzzled, excited, or maybe a bit of both. Your interviewers are probably going to want to know some of what is going on in your head, and even if it's nothing, let them know. I'm literally talking about walking them down through your thought process as you answer every question. Voice your first hunch, your second one, and even as you're about to procure up a third, communicate the kinds of things you're thinking about as you come to that answer. Basically, show you're working. It's causing you marks in interviews as well. Make it conversational. As I said, these guys are ideally going to be teaching you in a few months' time, so you might want to get started getting comfortable with them. Switching an interview from an interrogation to a conversation is one of the best ways to establish some rapport with your interviewer, as you leave your answers somewhat open to elaboration, reciprocate by asking for their takes on some of the questions they're asking, and even perhaps asking some of the questions you might have for them. You're literally getting a live panel with some veteran people in like what is supposed to be your passion. Like, shoot, bro, shoot. Practice. The best way to get good, or at least better at these things, is practice. Practice talking people through your personal statement. See if your subject teacher is willing to take you through a session, and if not, honestly, talking through any of these things with your mom over dinner is not at all a bad idea. You really just want to get reps in talking about ideas with regards to your application, so you can consolidate your knowledge, your delivery, and with that sorted, probably get some nerves out of the way as well. The offer. If they like you, get your grades and you're in. So I was predicted 3 A stars by my respective subject teachers at the end of my A-level course, and the college I applied to, Churchill, said that if I got 2 A stars, with one of those having to be in arts, that I was all good to pull up come October 2020. But the rest of that year for me, like many others, didn't quite go to plan at all. Actually, for reasons that had very little to do with the pandemic, but still, come results day, August 2020, your boy had 1 A star and 2 A's, a grade short of my offer. Shit. Luckily, that still met the university's baseline offer of A star AA, so I could probably still come, but it was far from a guarantee. What Cambridge actually does is they usually end up giving out more offers than they have places for, based on the common occurrence that some people basically don't fulfill the conditions set within their offers. Fair enough. So I went into Cambridge's version of clearing the summer pool, and that's in Lucy Cavendish College. Picked my sorry ass up. And honestly, I couldn't be happy with how that turned out. I mean, I did also get to defer my offer, so the much needed gap year ended up happening. And as a certain video on my channel would suggest, that may or may not have been the best year of my life. My first year at Cambridge is probably up there, so no complaints on this side. Really, I'm only telling you this to show that not all paths to Cambridge look the same, nor do they have to. And even if I didn't end up going to Cambridge, I'm pretty sure UCL would have been cool too. But I did indeed go Cambridge. And so far, it's been a great time.